I cannot see. I have no idea where the straw is. Okay. It's trippy. So, these glasses make everything colorful and also hard to see. I bought these to change the perspective of the children I was going to work with at Kind Studio. And I'm using them because no one is going to use them. Well, I don't want to say that, but might as well use them because they're pretty fun. Reading, however, is impossible. Let's attempt it, maybe. All right. That's so crazy. What is reality? I don't know at this point, because there's just so many things I question. Yeah, I won't be able to read with these, but they were fun, right? They're really cheap. You should get a pair. Back to reading, because I want to finish Deepak so I can move on to my new stuff, my other books, because I have many that need to be read. All right. I think we're on this paragraph. Oh, yes, I remember. Because diagnosis is mentioned, and I remember I was like, what? You bastard. How dare you? They're so tricky. All right. The darkness of this journey is what made the frenzies necessary. They were not an end to themselves. And when he speaks of frenzies, he's speaking of the people who worshipped Dionysus but killed people. I don't know. The dark side of worship, I guess. There's always good and there's darkness, of course. They were not an end to themselves in any event. Orgies are now really grand metaphors for smashing the shell of waking consciousness to arouse the sleeping divinity within. Let's have an orgy. I'm going to say that and then people are going to take me literal. But I mean like in a spiritual sense. Let's have energy. Perhaps this is true. Many ancient traditions use extreme states to push through to sacred visions. Native shamans who pierce their bodies or seclude themselves in harsh wilderness are attempting to contact primal forces within. Their rites and the orgies of Dionysus, I just call him Dion because his name is hard for me. Dion are not that far removed from lovemaking by lovers who hope to push sex into the intensity of ecstasy. This guy is just such... I just love the way he writes. My God. Can't deal with it. It's too spicy for me. The transports of priests and devotees through devotional rituals can be very meaningful to them. The unconscious is a rich landscape. Archetypes tell us much about our primal selves. Yet the messages of myth often seem prefabricated. I think lacking the immediacy of true ecstasy. It is rare to meet a mythic thinker who has recaptured the divine states of the ancient ones he or she has thought about. He said it's rare, but not impossible. You know what I mean? Where did I put my glasses? You know what I mean? Jelly bean. So that means it is possible, but it's rare. I don't know who's here, and I'm not going to open the door because that's how it be. All right, so it is rare to meet a mythic thinker. No one's here. Go away. I don't know who could be. True ecstasy. This brings us to the third definition of ecstasy. Yes. Who's here? Heidi.
Hi.
Hello. What is that?
For you.
Ooh, food for me. What type of food? I get food, yes. I like your shirt.
Thank you.
It's Pusheen, right?
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses on. I can only see like shapes. Oh, it's a dinosaur Pusheen? Oh, okay. That's cute.
Oh. What's down the job?
It's my roommate's sister.
Alfredo.
One of his.
Chicken pasta.
Ooh, Alfredo chicken pasta. Back to true ecstasy. A spiritual release. Spiritual ecstasy is not a feeling or an idea, but a shift in perception in which direct contact with spirit is made. Being in ecstasy does not have to express itself through intensity of any kind. The biblical injunction, be still and know that I am God, is an invitation to ecstasy. All right. I guess I have to whisper. I don't like that. So, the true ecstasy I have already reached. Sometimes I just meditate and I feel super, super high. But it's not like a drug high. It's a natural high. And it's a great experience. Or like sometimes I don't even know why, but I just get high and I'm like, why am I high? Oh, thank you. You didn't have to do that. I was going to go get it. Thank you. So sometimes I'm just like living my life and then all of a sudden I'm high and I'm like, why am I high? And sometimes I get an answer and sometimes I don't get an answer, but it's still pretty awesome because how many people in my culture, my age group have reached a state of spiritual awakening, because enlightenment is an ongoing process. You know, I'm constantly being enlightened, but awakening, like, that's different. That smells so good. All right. I prefer the spiritual definition because it's inclusive of the physical and the mythical. I'm listening to what she's saying. I can sort of understand the Mandarin, Spanish, English mix. Anyways, the most famous example of spiritual ecstasy is probably that of Saint Teresa. I used to look up to Saint Teresa. Now I'm kind of like iffy. I mean, she was really nice, but I saw some things. I don't know if they were true. That she was racist. Don't take my word for it. I saw it a long time ago, and I was like, oh. Ecstasy is probably that of Saint Teresa, who dreamed that an angel came and pierced her heart with a golden arrow. She describes this experience in intensely physical terms as a burning pain that was almost unendurable until it wondrously transformed itself into equally intense pleasure. How come I don't get stabbed in the heart by an angel? Like, what the? I shouldn't ask for that, should I?
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for the food. Gio, close the door. Anyways, I mean, I wouldn't mind getting stabbed by an angel in the heart. My reasoning is it would be nice. It would be very nice. I think we would both enjoy it, like the experience. Like the angel can stab me, and I'd be like, that's beautiful. And then it'd be like, ow, that hurts, but thank you. It was nice seeing you. My version of angels are not anywhere near the Catholic version of angels. Let me just say, angels can look like however they want. Like me personally, I don't have a image of an angel, you know, like the standard Catholic view, wings, person, face, right, robe. I let those entities come as however they wish because I don't feel it's fair for me to place my perception on them because they're their own beings, right? I know, I'm weird. So angels don't appear, well, maybe they have. I just, but if an angel were to appear, I'm pretty sure, to me, it would not be like Saint Teresa's experience. Oh, that's an angel. I'd be like, I'm pretty sure that's an angel, but it might be something else, and I hope it's not because that's really scary. And I'm sorry that I'm scared, but the old biblical, like deep in Catholicism, somebody actually drew what they really look like, and it's pretty like insane. It's like badass. If you haven't looked it up, I left my phone upstairs. Damn. But yeah, like they don't look like anything portrayed in the Bible, or now in our era. They don't look like that at all. And I think the reason why they look like that, or they developed to look like that, was because their true forms were scaring the shit out of people. Because imagine you're just minding your own business, and then this creature with like 1,000 eyes and rings and fire and black and comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, I would imagine that's why they switched. And all the gods and the entities have changed their looks depending on who they're talking to. That's just common sense to me. Like if I was a ghost or a spirit, I would just pick something that wouldn't scare the person I'm trying to teach a lesson to. What I'm trying to say is, even if I'm scared of an angel or like an entity, it's only for like a second. And then I'm like, oh, cool. That's awesome. I'm weird. I know. It's about like not changing who you are for the benefit of the person, in my opinion. Because I feel that's rude. It's like, I worship you, but if I won't worship you if you don't make sense to me, and that's what people do. Like, they worship a god that makes sense to them. Essentially, we're going into a rant. This is what happens when I read. The Catholic God, the simple version of God is, don't be a sinner or you're going to burn in hell. And if you repent and you're a good person, you'll go to heaven, right? It's super easy to understand, but not the reality of the situation at all, because it's much more complex. So those people who worship this God, if their God appeared to them as he, she, it, they, them really is, I'm sure they would shit themselves. I'm sure some of them would probably die the instant they saw something so like magnificent and crazy, which is interesting about people who are religious. Me, on the other hand, appear however you wish to appear. Yes, it may scare me for like a second, and I'll be like, that's scary, that's creepy. But I'll be okay in the long run because I'll be like, oh, okay. And I prefer it that way because no one can ever experience what I have experienced. So, there'll be other stories where people share experiences like, oh, this angel appeared and he looked like this. And that to me is just boring. Give me the smack in the face that I deserve. Anyways, the mythic ingredients of the angel and the arrow are unmistakably, once we think back to the god Eros, with his quiver and bow. In her ecstasy, Teresa felt nothing less than the intimate embrace of God, and the erotic and mythic overtones of her experience make it no less divine. People can't put eroticism and holiness together because it's taboo if you have an orgasm. You know what I mean? And that's the sad part about these people who, they're so literal. They read a sentence and that's all they see. Like, they're missing the best part about worshiping. Yeah, pretty much worship. And that is the ecstasy part where you don't need anything except for your faith and the love of your God or life, or however you want to say it. So it's really interesting that they put away the erotic part, because I highly doubt it mentions eroticism in the Bible. I don't remember when I was learning. So what usually makes ecstasy so intense and extreme is not the experience itself, but getting to it. The climb. As you may or may not guess, I'm in a frisky mood. I don't know why. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. The common images of God are an angel coming down from heaven to pierce, shatter, and penetrate the ecstatic one. Do not have to be taken literally, like exactly what I just said. You don't take that literal. But what do I know? I was just born and raised Catholic. I went through everything. All their weird ceremonies. They weren't that weird, but whatever. They serve to remind us that many layers shield us from contact with spirit to receive the gift of ecstasy in an exquisite experience. Why aren't they interested in to receive the gift of ecstasy in an exquisite experience? That's what I want. That message is for someone else. As told in a remarkable passage from a Greek Orthodox manuscript written 1,000 years ago. That's not that much. Actually, it's more than that now because this was 1998. For if we genuinely love him, we wake up inside Christ's body, where all our body, all over, every most hidden part of it, is realized in joy as him. And we make us utterly real. I'm throwing seeds at my dog, and she's confused. What is it, Heidi? Are you being harassed? Huh? Sorry, this is my entertainment. What? All right. Go back to sleep. I know you just want food. The central lines, which aroused shock and controversy at the time, were written by an obscure monk known as Simeon, the New Theologian. I can't speak today. His description of spirit as a penetrating, transforming love that turns our very selves to divine essence still may sound too intimate to comfort. Man, what is wrong with these people? I would have been like, that's spicy. I'd be his biggest fan. Why is it so hard just to accept that that's part of the process? What do I know? We awaken in Christ's body as Christ awakens our bodies. I move my hand, and wonderfully, my hand becomes Christ, becomes all of him. I move my foot, and at once he appears like a flash of lightning. I don't know how to say his name. Simeon was well aware that his loving intimacy with godhood would be considered blasphemous. He spent his last years exiled in a remote Turkish village, condemned by church authorities, but now we can recognize in his writing the complete sincerity of a true lover. How rude. I need to find his stuff because I'm sure I'll find it entertaining. So I'm marking this page. Do I have my stickies? The church is just a pain in the ass. I'm just gonna say it. Fuck the church, honestly. Like, it's blasphemous. But they have hoarded years and years of information that are very important to the people who practice the religion. But because they want to control what people believe, they keep it to themselves. And that pisses me off because that's not what us being as equals are. Also, not only is it manipulation, they are one of the richest entities in the world, and they don't use that money as they should to help the poor. Instead, they buy these crazy churches, these outfits, gilded shit, blah, 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 to show off. And that's why I don't like the church. And that's why I don't worship in the church, because I don't like any of that. It's, what is it? I can't think of the word. It's blasphemous, I guess. That's blasphemy to me. Also, they know what priests are doing, and yet nothing is being done. So, blasphemy. All right, little rant there. Unfortunately, this guy had to spend his life in exile, but I'm sure he had a blast, because he knew what life was about. For Simeon, everything that seemed to us dark, harsh, shameful, maimed, ugly, irreparably damaged, excuse me, is in him transformed and recognized as a whole, as lovely and radiant in his light. Yin and yang. Everything that is dark is part of God too, and that's what people don't want to recognize. Crazy. This, of course, sounds like the voice of a saint and very ecstatic one, but I believe the same vision is open to us all. We are all lovers trying to reach perfection. We do this, as Simeon teaches, when we awaken as the beloved in every last part of our body. In Simeon's time, these words violated the dogmatic belief that the body was wicked and corrupt. Who thought of that? Someone who hates themselves. The body is wicked and corrupt. Who wakes up with those thoughts? Someone who has bad thoughts, actually. Anyways, in our age, the opposite prejudice applies. A lover is someone whose appeal is basically physical, sexual. In both cases, the fusion of spirit and body has been missed. Yes, a lover is more than just physical. And I'm going to take a bite of this food really quick. Pasta. Does that sound weird? Anyways, what was I doing? I'm drinking some water. Pasta is so tasty. Pasta. Best. Yet at the moments, the piercing joy of, what are you doing? Anyways, yet at the moments, the piercing joy of love does not appear despite dogma. The touch of your beloved, or simply the sight of her, can seem suddenly amazing, appearing like lightning, just as Simeon says. But the same feeling can penetrate the heart from nowhere, because love is inherent in life itself. Emily Dickinson, whose lovers were all in her imagination, is to me a true lover nonetheless. Funny he mentions Emily Dickinson. I've had her book since I was in high school, of her poetry. And she was the first female poet that I liked. Interesting. Anyways, she writes, not revelation, 'tis that waits, but our unfurnished eyes. I don't know. This is a message of compressed wisdom, which says that we are waiting not on the day of redemption, but our own perception. Okay, that's what I thought, but she speaks in Old English, so it's very confusing for me. You know, Old English is a bit tricky. The exquisiteness of true ecstasy cannot dawn unless we can contain it. Our minds are so absorbed in relentless activity that quietness rarely lasts more than an instant. The body by its nature is also active and restless. Since activity and stillness are opposites, the body generally registers some degree of agitation or discomfort. The reputation that ecstasy has for being physically intense contributes to the frenzy and mutilation that devotees have resorted to in order to duplicate the opening to ecstasy. They are mistaking the symptom for the cause. That is true. People who are frenzied in worship. See, that's what you get. These people. These animals. The divine has nothing to do with pain because it stands outside ecstasis. If I had my phone, I would look it up. My phone. The envelope of time and space, spirit cannot be sensuous. That is not the way you say it, most likely. Our five senses cannot take us to where ecstasy dwells, but a true ecstasy begins to manifest. Our senses definitely react. The reaction is entirely individual and unpredictable, exactly, since one person's intense erotic opening is another's frightening collapse of defenses. I'm pretty sure that describes me. What other people fear, I'm like, yeah, I'm open. That is who I am. I am who I am. What feels like the expansion of the soul into infinite space to me may seem like a terrifying fall into the void to you. Exactly. When we say that ecstasy is like the drop melting back into the ocean, it must be made clear that we are the drop in the ocean at the same time, just on different levels. That is something I couldn't grasp for a very long time. Ecstasy is the release of individuality back into wholeness. Whatever brings you closer to wholeness brings you closer to ecstasy. Can I help you? No, you're not. And let me turn on the light because I'm losing lighting.
Boochie boochie.
All right. Give me a second to think. Essentially, that's what happened to me with my spiritual awakening. My spiritual awakening would have been anyone's nightmare. Because basically I was stripped of all my rights. I was put in a prison against my will. And And the warden was someone who was supposed to take care of me, but he was abusing his power. So that is like someone's nightmare. But because of what happened to me, I don't see it as like anything negative because it led me to who I am now. But other people, I think they wouldn't have recovered from what I recovered from. Here, I think we've reached the secret of ecstasy. Most of us do not see ourselves as supreme sexual technicians, nor can we relate easily to the extraordinary mysticism of a saint. Ecstasy will never be ordinary, yet it can be brought within our reach once we realize its real nature. Although often experienced in the most extreme situations, ecstasy is a quality of spirit as natural as any other. We do not have to sojourn into the darkness of mythic past to retrieve it. The patient work of inner growth is all we need. Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. But what do I know? I'm just an American girl. You know, I'm American and I like to read the books. But I ain't no guru. To promote stillness. Was that mean? I hope not. I'm joking. To promote stillness inwardly is to promote ecstasy. The inner being doesn't have to be tricked or manipulated to achieve this stillness. Our minds are like runners that only have to slow down in order to walk, then slow down from a walk to standing still. This process of shifting from activity to stillness is a simple but very deep description of meditation. Have I reached that level yet? Maybe. Sometimes I can be still, you know, but I'm like high energy, so I'm like lightning. There's no single road to this quietness of meditation. Yet to be genuine, any meditation must take the mind beyond its superficial nature, which is restless and chaotic, to its deeper nature as a peace that passes all understanding. You know, funny thing about that, my mind was literally restless and chaotic with my mental illness. And now I'm at peace. So my life journey was to suffer in the beginning so that I could awaken and be stronger. I'm just saying things right now, but it makes sense to me because mental illness is sort of like, if I were to describe it to someone who doesn't have one, it's like fighting your demons on a daily basis. Like every day you wake up, like even in your sleep, you're fighting your demons. So every day you would wake up and be presented with just evil, dark thoughts that you had no control of, constantly bombarding you. And that's how it was for a very long time for me. And then I have peace. I made friends with my demons. You know? So I'm good. That's what you got to do. You have to make friends with them. You can't fight them. That doesn't work. That gives them more power, I think. Reaching ecstasy, the emergence into stillness can take place under any conceivable circumstance. Arjuna achieved his moksha on a raging battlefield after the bloody onslaught of family against family. So I achieved moksha when I was in the hospital. Medieval saints found theirs in complete retreat from the world. At this moment, someone is finding it in a bustling city or staring out to sea. The release is never incidental or accidental. Taste of ecstasy come and go, yet attaining complete stillness of the mind means walking the spiritual path to its conclusion with discipline and faith. Yes. Why are you making those noises? You're distracting me, Heidi. So yes, this is a path. And I guess essentially I am a paladin in this life journey. But you would never know it, right? Because I'm not a fanatic and I don't push my beliefs on anyone. But I am highly devoted to my creator. And I like it that way. Because I don't like to be put in categories with other people, right? I don't like to follow the path that everyone else follows, because usually that's corrupt and easy to manipulate and change. So I just do my thing in the shadows, in the darkness, or in the light. I don't know. Expansion of consciousness is a broad term that covers almost everything I have discussed up to now. For the path to love is all about such expansion. Love pulls you out of ego boundaries, and when you're dedicated to acting from love, you are able to live in spirit. Many of the most important themes have already been covered. Seeing your beloved as a mirror of your higher self. And here, beloved is lowercase because he's not talking about the creator. Smart. Surrendering to love as a guiding force. I'm highlighting these all in different colors, actually. Might as well. I'm missing a color. I don't know where it is. Yes, love is my guide. Love is my guide. Letting go of attachment to the false self and its needs. Devoting every day to achieving true union and healing the wounds of separation, which I've been kind of lazy about. I should be working on that. Oh, actually, I can't do that unless my partner's here, so it's going to be tricky. Countless people live with their beloved without following any of these principles. Isn't that crazy? Their love doesn't provide a strong enough basis to escape their old conditioning. Oh my God. I'm just going to write this down. I'm going to underline this. So yes, people, I'm going to close this book really quick. From my observation, as someone who likes psychology, people marry their twin in the sense that they marry someone who has the same negative traits. Not everyone, but I'm saying people like in my parents' generation, it's like they marry someone who... Stop. You're distracting me. They marry someone who is really codependent. So like they're both codependent on each other. And this is something that has been going on for years that I've noticed with everyone who's labeled a boomer. They don't repair their relationships they don't repair anything. Like they're like, I'm fine. I'm an adult. Like I can function. But in reality, they should have been in therapy since the beginning. Like everyone should have just gone to therapy. Like because they're the most messed up generation, actually. Because their parents like did shit, they didn't do shit, they abused them, they mistreated them, and they were like, oh, that's how parents are, like it made me a stronger person, but it fucked them up, and they never went to fix that. And then they brought it into their relationships, which flooded into their children, and the process would continue, but it ain't gonna continue. I'm telling you that. For a very long time, I thought my family was cursed. Like, me and my sister were like, are we cursed? Like, did we get cursed by witches or something? I don't know. But there are like generational karma curses, like that concept makes sense to me. Mm-mm. Right. The karma, cause and effect, pretty much just makes sense. I think of it as, what did my family do throughout their life? Like, since we became Swifts, what did they do? They probably killed Native Americans, that's for sure. Which is stupid, because I think that's dumb. But, I'm not everyone, so yeah, I assume they came to America because they were Protestant. They met Native Americans, probably killed them, and then from there just went downhill. But it's okay. Things can be broken. You just need the black sheep to be like, what is going on? And, everything will be okay. I don't worry about it. I just think it's very interesting how that turned out. Because my mother is an immigrant. So weird. Isn't it? Until they discover the spiritual path, to heed the voice of spirit, which speaks intuitively. If only you perceived it, you're already in the state of ecstasy that is permanent and unshakable. Oh, that's nice. Heidi, stop. You are so greedy. No. Go. You have enough food, okay? I'm trying to make you lose weight, not gain weight, okay? But only at moments when your boundaries fade away do you have flashes of reality. Then direct intuitive knowing becomes possible, and you can see yourself for who you are, sublime and ecstatic. Thousands of years ago, the Upanishads expressed our twofold nature in a beautiful metaphor. Two birds, one of them mortal, the other immortal, live in the same tree. The first one pecks at the fruit, sweet or bitter. The second looks on without eating. Thus, the personal self pecks at the fruit of this world, bewildering by suffering, always hungry for more. But when he meets the true self, the resplendent God, the source of creation, all his cravings are stilled. Yes, I understand what they're trying to tell me, but I'm not there yet. Having animals is a blessing. But sometimes I wonder what goes on through their minds, because Heidi was just eating the cord to the window. I don't know sometimes, but endless entertainment. The two birds in the tree, self and self, are inseparable. Both sit in the same tree, the body, faced with the same fruit, the material world. Yet, for all their closeness, the bird who craves the fruit does not know its mate. It takes an awakening to reveal the self. And although in one sense it is awesome being the resplendent God, in another sense is just one intimate beloved who has faithfully kept watch through all the time, waiting only to be seen. Once it is seen, everything in life changes. As the Upanishads declare, the life of the self, once united with the self, rises to a blessed level. Good and evil both vanish, delighting in self, playing like a child with self. He does whatever is called for, whatever the result. When self realization dawns, there is no longer any question of struggle or effort. The spirit guides you to do whatever is called for according to your own makeup. In reality, universal love requires only one thing, that the sweet point in the heart expand until bliss and peace become the nature of our life. The first happens within individuals, then it happens to relationships based on spirit, finally extends to whole families and societies. I'm in love with this guy. I can't. Dang. He's married. I'm saying jokingly. I mean, he's awesome. I love that. So that's the whole philosophy of my life. That little paragraph there. Through love, kindness, and ecstasy, I guess, if you want to call it, you can change the world. You know, it's like a domino effect. What you do to one person through kindness, obviously, and also through hate has a domino effect. The biggest effect, you know, they both affect equally, I think, but love has a higher healing capacity, right? It's like, trying to think of the analogies. It's like rain. Like a healing rain. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. You know, it has a trickle down effect, right? So essentially, the first person, the source, would be one person who has discovered the true meaning of life, which is to heal oneself and be a better person. And then through that, they become a healer, you know, because we do have healers in all different forms, spiritual, physical, etc. But they heal people one at a time. And then that has the effect of healing rain, which is the beautiful thing about spirituality and self love that people seem to miss. You know, it's much more deeper than, hey, love yourself. It's more of this whole cosmic story here that a lot of people don't know about because the texts are not in English. They're in Sanskrit, maybe something more ancient than that. I'm not going to murder her. She's just crying. I'm going to go put the food away because she will not leave me alone until that food is gone. Heidi, you act like you don't eat. You are such a butt. Yeah, I don't have food anymore, okay? Don't come crying to me. All right. Sorry. I give my animals the best life. A single point in the heart can expand to liberate the world. So yeah, that's the thing that people. Let's bring it back to what's going on now. So as predicted, the BML movement was just a fad to most people, which is a shame because it's not a fad. It's been going on for years, right? But people are still spreading information. This is so tasty. Anyways, they're still spreading information, right? To kind of keep it alive, which is fine, right? But they don't realize that the thing that needs to be done is the work of the individual, as in activism, pretty much. So basically, what people do is they see things happening. They see the travesty, they see the violence, they see everything, and they get consumed by that. Like, it affects you. And then the cycle continues. It's not changing anything, right? It's just making people more angry, more scared, more frustrated. But if they do the opposite, hey, let's look at ourselves. What can I do to change myself so that I can bring it to the community and help the community as a whole? But instead, what we do as a society is more like complain. It's keyboard warrior shit, this, look what's happening. And then when it comes down to actually doing something, nobody does it, because that's the hardest thing to do, right? Is actually practicing what you preach. So if people stop spreading hate and division, because that's what it is, and realize that, if we didn't respond the way we're expected to respond, things would be different. This is why I read and I educate myself. That's the most important thing about life, is to educate yourself. Ecstasy is therefore not an individual feeling at all, but a glimpse of wholeness waiting to be seen everywhere. The Upanishads state this very explicitly. Self is everywhere, shining forth from all beings, vaster than the vast, subtler than the most subtle, unreachable, nearer than breath, than heartbeat. Our senses tell us that we are breathing and that our hearts beat, but there is a breath within the breath that is spirit. In Christian terms, it has been called afflatus, the breath of God. I've never heard of that. Cool. I learned. Near as spirit may be, centuries of cultural prejudice have made it necessary to rediscover our intuitive, direct knowledge of it. Many disciplines and techniques can be employed here, particularly meditation. In this book, I have concentrated on the expansion of consciousness that is available through love. And that's why I bought this book. Because in reality, my religion is love. But who understands that? If I go up to someone, Or someone comes up to me, what is your religion? Love. Okay. What else are you going to say? Like, I'm crazy. Yeah, the road to self is not closed on any side. The transcendent is nearer than breath, than heartbeat. Unfortunately, a multitude of teachings exist to put our feet on the path. In the end, the path doesn't actually ascend anywhere in time or space. The self is still the self, the ego is still the ego, the senses are still the senses. How can you go anywhere to capture what is already close to you? The mystery is that this pathless path, I like that, pathless path. Double meaning, possibly. As the masters refer to, cause immense transformation. There is a world of difference between those who live and love and those who only touch upon it fitfully. Perhaps the greatest difference is this quality called ecstasy, which is the actual feeling of breathing God's breath and beating with his heart. When people accept Jesus into their heart, I think they take it literally. For me, I took it in a metaphorical, spiritual sense. And I think that's how it should be. I don't know. Just passing thought. I do not want to betray the intimacy of ecstasy. It is the most private of love affairs. Being becomes your beloved, and the merging of yourself with another person follows with complete ease and naturalness. And that is what I'm waiting for. I don't want to waste my time with any fuck boys, honestly. Like, I'm just done. I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, damn, it's gonna be a hard trip. Because I've always been a sexual person, right? So being celibate is something very difficult. I never imagined I would be celibate at one point in my life. Weird. I don't know. But as the book has mentioned, this is a lifestyle that I have chose to walk. And no one's gonna no one is going to take me off that path. Who is a waste of time, because I'm done wasting my time on people. Done. I don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. If one had to lay down some kind of pattern for how ecstasy is attained, it would be extremely general, as follows. The time comes when seeking is over and realization begins. First, the mind becomes aware of its own activity while standing apart from it. Ordinarily, we are immersed in our own inner dialogue. The stream of thought, wishes, fears, and fantasies running through our heads keep us fixated. We buy into a mental drama that has no conclusion. The mind gains its restless energy from our participation. Being fixed on our own mental drama is all it takes to cause the drama to work itself up. At certain moments, however, the fixation is not so alluring. Some parts of ourselves detach from the mind's activity. The first stage of ecstasy is just the faint awareness of being a witness to the drama, rather than an engaged participant. That's literally what I just said about people spreading hate and fear. They're actively participating in that drama, because it is drama, preventable drama. So preventable. For example, People are going to be homeless in the US on a mass scale very soon, because no one predicted Corona. And there were no safeguards for any situation like this, which, if we had a smart governing entity, there would be. But dare I say it? Do I want to be mean? Maybe. These white cis men who control our government. Anyways, so there were no measures, no safeguards. And now we are in a situation for mass homelessness. And there is nothing there to pick up people who are homeless on a mass scale in America, because I've been in the system, not as someone who has lost their home, but I've volunteered for people. I'm aware. So things are going to happen, and it's going to get pretty bad before it gets better. I'm saying that because despite all the evidence that's been thrown in our overlords' faces, in the president's face, in Congress's face, and governors and mayors, whatever, people of status, they continue on doing the same shit, right? They're doing the same thing as if nothing has changed. So when that happens, things get bad. I'm saying, in a sense, how the universe treats imbalance, and also how the universe teaches lessons. The universe will continue to give you a lesson in different ways. The first way doesn't work, then there's another way, then there's another way, then there's a worse way, and then there's a way where you are freaking pitted against a wall and it's life or death. So right now, we're going down the worst. So people who were renting, which is most of America because we're low income, are getting evicted, which leaves a record on you, so you can't rent later on. So these people who are getting evicted, they're becoming homeless and they get a record. So even if they make money, they can't rent. So essentially, they're stuck in homelessness. Like my game. And the people in power, they're just there doing whatever they're doing. These poor people don't matter. But they don't realize the more desperate people get, the more violent they'll get. Not that I condone violence, because I don't. But it's not my lesson to learn, because I know my lessons, okay? So good luck with that. I learned the lesson right when Corona hit. I was like, oh snap, like we need to do this and this. But some people are slow and they need... Are you seriously... You're crying to me? I put the food over there so you wouldn't bother me, but this dog... Anyways. No. You're such a butt. She distracted me. But anyways, so that's what's going to happen in America. Mass homelessness. There's going to be people on the street. There's going to be more violence. There's going to be all these things. I'm not excited for it, actually. No matter how chaotic I am, I don't look forward to seeing people on the street. It's heartbreaking. But there's literally nothing that I can, well, there's many things that I can do, but I'm not the governing entity in this situation. So, I mean, I can just observe and be there when someone needs to be cradled, metaphorically and physically. Because I don't make the laws, so if I did, shit, things would be different, trust me. Things would be okay, but I just have a bachelor's degree, like, and Betsy Davis has nothing. She has no degree. So anyways, the second step is stilling the mind. This is not achieved by force or indeed by any action at all. Doing anything is the opposite of being still. What an oxymoron. Because we have spent our whole lives in activity, non-doing is extremely unfamiliar. Most of the time, it occurs by accident. Out of the blue, one notices that the stream of consciousness has ceased, like turning off a water tap. Sexual activity is so often associated with ecstasy because it is one of the very few times that most people can be fully distracted from their own minds. Damn, that sucks. And yes, I used to be in that state. Not anymore. Crazy. Gaining some distance between the observer and the observed is so rare that the second stage of ecstasy occurs quite infrequently. For most of us, the excursions away from mental activity last only a few seconds. But if we manage to achieve the second stage, stillness takes on a surprising aspect. Our attention reveals to us that silence has its own dynamicism. She's so silly. I love that dog. She's my whole life. So cute. The still mind, though devoid of thoughts, quivers and vibrates all the same. Quivers. Oh, she has zoomies. Oh, she's got mad. She's a happy girl. There is a kind of trembling anticipation that can go one of two ways. Either a new thought will be born to bring back the internal dialogue, or the faint trembling of silence will lead to even deeper silence. Where are you? You had fun? You're so happy. My happy girl. Go, continue playing. I don't have food for you. You stink. Hey, calm down. Don't bite me. Either way, poised here at the edge of ecstasy, you cannot make your mind choose one way or the other. Even people who have experienced silent mind many times, such as prolonged practice of meditation, do not go past the front room of silence at will. But if the mind chooses to plunge into deeper silence, the third stage has been reached. I don't think I've reached the third stage. I don't want to go there at this time. The deeper silence doesn't quiver, it cannot be disturbed but by even the faintest activity. One experiences it like the softest black velvet or the deepest dark cave. I love that. I'm being seduced by this book. Okay. can't. Anyone who has come this far is now truly standing outside. Of course, it would be just as accurate to say that you are standing inside, because inside and outside have lost their difference. You're merely there where ecstasy is. The fourth and final stage requires nothing new on your part. Once your attention has been captured by the deep silence, the inner transformation is complete. Whatever is to happen next dawns of its own accord. One is brought face to face with pure being, pure awareness, pure joy. In ancient Sanskrit terms, Shachit Ananda, eternally bliss consciousness, reveals itself. Interesting. So this is interesting. I asked earlier before reading this book, I was like, I need guidance on what to do next in my life. Because, I obviously follow their advice. And I've been a little kind of like, what now? So this is obviously something they want me to do, which I don't really want. I'm just being lazy, I guess. I will do it. Might as well. I want to see what's in the bliss. Never been there. Excited. A Christian saint might call the same experience the face of God. The poet of the Song of Solomon put it in lovers' terms. My eyes are radiant with your spirit. My nostrils fill with your fragrance. My ears delight in your music, and my face is covered with your dew. I like that. Damn. I need to step on my poetry game. It's too much. Beautiful. This whole book has different colors now. Isn't that fun? But these are images only. The fact that ecstasy exists is the promise that kindles our faith on the path to love. Taste of it are the water that refreshes our quest. We take faith from those living masters who have reached the goal. They stand apart from us, yet they are clothed in the same flesh and bones. They move, act, breathe, and live as the rest of us do. Only secretly in their realized souls do they know with utter certainty that, like two birds in the tree, they are self, while we are self. That answered a question that I had for a while, actually. Interesting. Yes, I saw the tiramisu. I will have some later. Thank you. I keep it cold. Tiramisu is supposed to be cold, right? We're getting really Italian today. Weird. I often turn to a few pages of dialogue between an Indian disciple and his master that brings this contrast to life for me. The disciple is resisting the idea that there's anything beyond the world of the senses. He's the questioner. The answer is the South Indian master, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaja. Sorry. Question: is your world full of things and people as is mine? Answer: no, it is full of myself. Question: but do you see and hear as we do? A, which is the answer. Yes, I appear to see and hear and talk and act, but to me it just happens as to you digestion or perspiration happens. Question: if you are the world, how can you be conscious of it? A, consciousness and the world appear and disappear together, hence they are two aspects of the same state. As long as the mind is there, your body and the world are there. Your world is mind-made, subjective, enclosed within the mind, fragmentary, temporary, personal, hanging on a thread of memory. Where are my glasses? I was just, I'm gone now. Interesting. Beautiful. The things I learn, man, it's crazy. Even I am having trouble grasping that, but I kind of grasp it, but I kind of don't. Does that make sense? We'll come back to that later. Question: so is yours? A, answer: oh no, I live in a world of realities, while yours is of imaginings. Your world is personal, private, unshareable, intimately your own. Nobody can enter it. See as you see, hear as you hear, feel your emotions, and think your thoughts. In your world, you are truly alone, enclosed in your ever-changing dream, which you take for life. My world is an open world, common to all, accessible to all. In my world, there's community, insight, love, and real quality. The individual is the totality. All are one, and the one is all. Beautiful. About that last one, I realized long ago, actually not very long ago, but it seems like forever ago, that the concept that no one can hear your thoughts is actually like the most ignorant thing. I'm not saying that other people can hear your thoughts, but I'm saying if you believe in the one, like the one God or whatever, obviously that creature, that being can hear your thoughts, things that you don't say, things that you mean, things that you don't intend to say. Like, and that is how I found the strength to change my life, was because I live my life as if I was always being watched, but not like in a creepy way, like in a way that makes sense to me, which I don't comprehend why people don't realize that that's essentially what the whole Bible is about and religion. For people who do things behind closed doors, and I'm talking about like bad things, you're still being watched. Like, it doesn't make sense to them. Like, just because you do it behind closed doors doesn't mean nobody's watching you. And essentially that's how I live my life, as if my God, Okami-sama, that's what I call him sometimes, him, her, Okami-sama. Okami-sama could be female. But Okami-sama is constantly watching everything, and whatever you do affects something. And my biggest fear is hurting my creator. And even though that may not be a possibility, I still live my life that way because I'm nice. You know, I don't want to hurt someone who brought me into this world. I'm not going to cry. I'm not. Damn it. Yeah, so that's how I live my life. And I am getting emotional because I'm very passionate about it because I don't want to ever do that to anyone, including the ultimate being, right? And it hurts when people use his name or her name to do terrible things, right? I hate it. But let's not go down that path. My boy, I send love to you. Anyways, as many times as I've read this passage over the years, it never fails to move me at a level deeper than emotional or memory or even insight. I feel brought face to face with the real, and I stand in awe of a person who can save the material world that is the mere speck fleeting through his mind. But it's also heartening to realize that such great masters began as ordinary people. Ordinary. Am I a master? No, I don't want to. I don't want to think of myself that way. But I'm definitely somewhere. Maybe. But it's also heartening, blah, blah, blah. The only difference between them and any one of us is that masters set foot on the path. The path. Beginning the journey of soul making that leaves time behind. You just have to walk the path. But that path, no one has walked ever. And that's why I think people don't do it either. Also, because of the mindset, the mob mentality mindset that we have in society. You know, follow what everyone else is doing because it makes life easier. It doesn't. It just makes it, what's the word? Placable? Let's look it up. I don't know. Nope. Not the right word. Placid, that's the word I was looking for. Placid. So everything in life is expected if you follow the crowd because it's been there for years and years and years. Why change something that works until the virus comes and destroys your infrastructure, right? So that is one reason why people don't practice what they preach. More in my society, in Western society, than any other society, because other cultures are religious and they're spiritual. But here, I was going to say for some reason, but there's always a reason. I'm trying to think. But here we're mainly Catholic, right? Our God is Catholic. He loves America, right? America is the only one that God cares about. But here, Don't you dare. Don't you dare, Ringo. But anyways, but here the easy salvation actually is just going to church on Sunday, eating some bread, drinking some wine, and be like, my sins are forgiven, and then going home and doing the same shit. That's pretty much it. No, I don't want to pet you. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll pet you later. Eventually, the path ends, and the foundation of our world, which stands upon memory and mind, crumbles, leaving a new world of unimaginable realness. I like the way he describes all this because this is exactly how I feel sometimes. I'm just like, is this real life? Like, is this a fantasy? Caught in a landslide? I'm not going to say the rest. Anyways, understandably, Maharaj's disciple was intensely curious about what this new world is like, but his master could only answer it from a place beyond words. Question: how do you know that you are in the supreme state? Supreme state. I like that. Supreme state. Like Super Saiyan, but better. Because I'm in it. It is the only natural state. Can you describe it? Only negation as uncaused and independent, unrelated, undivided, uncomposed, unshakable, unquestionable, unreachable by effort. And yet my state is supremely actual, therefore possible, realizable, and obtainable. That's a good way to go about things. Say the opposite. Never thought about that. There may be those who would find this a discouraging description riddled with paradox. How can the unreachable be reached or the indescribable be real? I have an answer for that, but do I say it? So basically, the unreachable, you just have to believe it's reachable. It's the power of your mind. Yeah. Or, yeah, that's pretty much it. I can only turn to those arrows of light that hurtle at us from the world, the moments of ecstasy that quiet all doubt and still all questioning. It takes a long time before such experiences, born in the deepest silence, can be translated into time and space. And that's one thing that I'm still learning. Confuses the hell out of me. A life filled with chaos is extremely difficult to fill with ecstasy. While you are caught in the ecstatic moment, however, all of reality seems like a miracle. That is so true. The very root of the word miracle reminds us that it derives from the Latin mirari, to behold with the rapt attention. No better definition of ecstasy has ever been given. To those who have gained entry to ecstasy, there's no reason to ask for more. No transformation is all embracing, and after returning to the everyday world, the great gifts seem to be not the intensity of remembered joy, but the revelation of truth. One moment of genuine ecstasy removes a lifetime of doubts. You realize once and for all that spirit is real. Exactly what happened to me. So many times, actually, because I didn't get it once. Like I said, you can't force your beliefs on anyone, right? Because it just doesn't work. people have to accept it, right? You can preach and preach to someone and they'll still be an atheist until they experience what they need to experience, which I'm not going to generalize into anything, but essentially, it's like, I know I use the analogy of slap in the face, but a slap in the face will wake you up, right? Like if you get slapped hard. So the people need to get slapped in the face. What are you doing? You're so silly. Like they just need the wake up call. From firsthand experience that you are the divine essence. In the sense, ecstasy is the most immediate and yet the most far off experiences. It is immediate because it's undeniable. It is distant because it will take a lifetime to secure ecstasy as a permanent reality. Oh, dang. I'll challenge that. What is a lifetime? 8. Okay, we're going to go walkies in a minute. It is distance because of Fortunately, this journey itself creates ecstasy, being the path to love. And then we're on the last chapter, but Heidi needs to go walk, so I'm gonna go take her for a walk and enjoy the bliss. I don't think I'm gonna wear my glasses outside because it's just really hard to see through this stuff. So cool. Oh, sorry. I'm too cool for school. But yes, the last part will be done tonight because I'm not tired. I drank coffee and I shouldn't have. But we're going to finish this. And then what are we going to read? I don't know. I'm scared. I love it. All right. Be back in a few minutes. Hours.